Hey everybody, it's your boy Garrett J. White, the founder of Wake Up Warrior and the CEO of DKW Styling, and I'm here with my beautiful wife, Danielle K. White, who is the founder of DKW Styling, as well as the creator of Natural Beaded Rose, and started a movement inside of the hair industry, and together we are your co-hosts here in the Date Your Wife podcast. Welcome to this week's episode. We're driving back from an amazing experience. Danielle's going to give you the rundown.
If you guys are missing seeing us in action, it's because we've been so busy that we have been doing the podcast kind of just on the go via cell phone. So today we are actually just leaving Cafe Rio, actually.
Yes, Cafe Rio, burritos.
I was raised in Utah, and Cafe Rio, if you've not had Cafe Rio, everyone in Utah is like, Cafe Rio, but when you don't have it a lot, it's just so good. So anyways, no, we actually just left my 20-week doctor appointment. I'm pregnant, having a little girl. If you just heard the news, or if you don't follow me on Instagram, we are having our third little girl, and I'm 35, so I get all these extra tests. You know, that 35 number puts you at high risk, even though she's like, everything looks great and normal and you're not high risk. But it's cool because I get extra ultrasounds and like all the perks, you know. So we just went and saw, we're naming our daughter Isla, and we just went and saw little Isla, and it's like so crazy. They did like the 3D ultrasound, and it just starts to get like more and more real. I know, like, if you're a mom, like in between visits, you're like, oh my God, I mean, I know there's a bump, but is there still a baby? Is everything okay? And it's something that's not talked about. It's, you know, I feel like I have fairly easy pregnancies, but I will say, like, just something about being pregnant, you always feel a little bit like, oh my God, I hope everything's okay, a little nervous. And it's like, it's no longer, it doesn't operate just around you, and it's, your baby is always on your mind. So it's cool and reassuring to go and to an ultrasound and see and check and confirm and see that everything's okay. So that's where we're coming home from.
So I have a topic for you.
Okay.
So we were at, I was actually I've been all over the damn place. Yep, I got it. I've been all over the place, all over the country doing events and speaking and training, and just drove down from where we live in Orange County to San Diego, the Traffic and Conversion Summit, and had an opportunity to spend time with Pete Vargas and Keith Yackey and a bunch of buddies of mine, and a whole bunch of guys from Mike Koenigs and Yannick Silver, and a whole bunch of guys from the internet marketing space. And the guys were mentors of mine, and people who 10 years ago I started studying from, and now I'm a peer with them in the stuff that we do inside of marketing and sales. Huge event run by Brian Dice down in San Diego. If you're a marketer and you don't go to it every year, you probably should. But anyway, so we were down there and I was talking, and Keith and his wife were there with us, and she's an amazing woman, an amazing story for those two as a couple. But as we started talking, I was having a conversation with a series of guys. There were a couple of the wives that were there with us, and we were talking about the requirement of the divorce to build the divine relationship. That's our topic for today. Like, why you must get divorced to build the divine relationship. So here was the I know you're not divorced, but we basically got divorced. Now let me play this scenario out, and then you're going to talk about this. So we were sitting and talking, and there were two different couples in the past. Okay, two different couples that I have met in the past probably 2 weeks who have gone through the following situation. Married, had kids, got divorced, dated other people, did their thing, got remarried.
Really?
Two different couples, okay? Second piece inside of this is there were 2 or 3 other couples that I've had conversations with where they actually got separated. So they didn't get divorced, but they got separated from each other, went their own ways for 6 months to a year, were not divorced, but when separated, then came back together. And across all of these, there was a similar conversation that I felt like me and Danielle went through as a couple also.
Who were these people you're talking to?
These are just like people that I know, individuals I know, and some of them were just people I was just talking to and having conversation with. And this topic kept coming up in marriage about this, what I'm calling the divine divorce. Okay. Which is like a necessary time phrase in which you, as a relationship, like, are kind of in fucking chaos, and you have to choose all in again. And everybody hit this. I was even talking to some couples that were at Atlanta last night at this party we were at, and I was talking with some couples there, and they've been together for 18, 19, 20, 25 years, and they all concurred that this thing that I'm calling the divine divorce is an actual thing. A divine divorce. Okay, so we didn't get divorced, but we had a divine divorce. And we're going to talk about this. Like this decision. Well, I want you to disagree. Okay. You're looking hot right now in your like pregnant, super tight dress. So talk to me about this. This is what I'm throwing out there. We're talking about the divine divorce and how every couple must go through a divine divorce in order to find their divine destiny. All right, give it to me.
Super passionate about this. No, like you can't. That's like somebody who's like in a long-term relationship and they're like, we don't need the piece of paper to be married. And you're like, how do you know? You've never actually been married. That's like comparing apples to oranges. Like you don't get a say because you've never been married. We've never been divorced, so we can't necessarily say that we went through what somebody actually went through, that they went through a divorce. And when you're divorced, I'm sure they like slept with other people, so that's going to create a whole other emotional dynamic to the relationship. So I get what you're saying, like the topic of like a divine divorce, where like we were like on that road knocking on that door for a while and we had to kind of like reinvent our relationship, but you definitely cannot compare it to.
You just nailed on it. You can.
But
listen,
you definitely cannot. No, I didn't.
Your lips look amazing. I want to kiss you. Okay. Right now, listen. You can't. Look what's happening.
You can't
here.
talk. I have the phone.
Stop blocking. Stop phone blocking.
You don't have a mic. I got the mic.
You got a little baby in your belly. It's cock blocking. All right, listen. Here's the deal.
Okay, here you can.
I'm going to set the frame so that everybody gets this. Danielle's going to come along with this ride. I promise you. Okay. So yes, we did not actually get divorced. I've been married and divorced before. You've not been married and divorced before. We were married. We were knocking on the door of divorce, and in this case, there was a separation emotionally that occurred for us. And there were several years where we were dysfunctionally disconnected. I should actually say we were very functionally disconnected. We were not like, it was not dysfunctional disconnection. We were literally very good at being disconnected.
We were passing the volleyball back and forth well.
Yeah, it was not working. Okay, so there was a moment though where we had to choose. Like we had to choose, and this is the point I'm making about the divine divorce sets up your divine destiny as a couple, which is there is a time of decision. And that, yeah, these are extreme examples. People get divorced and they move on to the relationship and then they get back together. But I watch this common thing happen with the relationships of any significance, which is not, you don't just get married and head down this path of like bliss and all is great and our God is an awesome God, he reigns from heaven above. And you're like, my marriage is on fire all the time, constantly posting happy pictures on Facebook. But that's bullshit. There's a moment of the divine divorce where you as a couple begin to drift, but it's actually setting up the next chapter of your relationship. All right, we're coming back to Danielle to see if me adding a few more pieces of the puzzle is helping her mind not go so matter of fact on me here and to stay up in the clouds while we talk about some principles. Here she is. What are you hearing me say now?
I would say it's a divine disconnection then.
Oh, fine, you win. Divine disconnection. I'm going to continue a divine divorce, but just run, okay?
Okay, all right.
Talk about divine disconnection then. Go.
So...
Think about back when we were going through our shit. Like, it's not that we still aren't going through shit, but I'm just saying that go back to the divine disconnection years, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, and then the decisions that came beyond that.
I just feel like we just kept butting heads. I don't really know where you want me to go with this, but I kept feeling like there's like always these arguments you have with inside of a relationship. You're like, holy fuck, these are never gonna get solved. Am I with the wrong person?
You're on fire. Keep going. You're on the right path.
So you just keep looping back to the same argument, and it just gets exhausting. And literally, I think there was times in our relationship where we're like, there's nothing we can do. Like we felt like it was out of our control. But I just know in relationships you're always going to have different issues, and that relationships, it kind of is, it's a give and take thing. And so things that you might say, oh well, this is not me, this is not how I operate. Like if you want a good relationship, you have to kind of change that story and operate around new principles. And the more you do it, the more you're like, wow, I can change, or I am this kind of person, and things start to mold together, I would say, more cohesively.
Okay, so let's take this, continue down this path here. So there's a point of disconnection that happens in every relationship, and the reality is when you start having kids, like shit just gets spicy. It just gets spicy. And if you run a business and you get married and you have babies and things just get spicy, and when they get spicy, there is disconnection through sedation that begins to happen. It doesn't matter who you are. I don't care who you are. Like, you sit here listening to the show right now, any of you, and try to make pretend that you've just got it all figured out and that you sit on the cloud nine and things have always been amazing.
You know what I think
I love couples that are like,
people don't know that anything's wrong. They'll be like, no, like, I'm good. And I'm like, but are you great? Like, is there a distinction between the two? Like, yeah, I thought we were good too, you know? And then like shit hit the fan financially, and like all this like trials and stuff came up in our own lives and in our own marriage. And I was like, wow, you know what? When things got spicy, maybe we're not as strong as maybe good is not good enough. And I think that things like that happen in our life to it's like a test to see where we're at and see how we rise. And ultimately in this life, it's about growth. And so you can't expect to have growth inside your relationship, inside your business, inside anything, if you can't face those trials and win. So I think within our own relationship, it's not necessarily the person. It's like, hey, here's, at least for us, I didn't feel like it was. I think we both were so different. And I think there was a ton of like chemistry and attraction in the beginning, like definitely opposites attract. And then it's like opposites annoyed real quick. So
opposites attack.
Opposites and just
attract,
like every little thing that maybe was funny and cute and quirky, I was like, I swear to God, I'm going to fucking punch you in the face. Like, I don't even know, like literally, like everything he said that I didn't even notice before, he'd say things and I was like, why do I want to punch myself in the face and you? Like, so it just became this like, it went from like this crazy chemistry to this like repulsive chemistry. And for us, I was like, God, that's when I'm like, how did we get here? When did this happen? You know? And I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this, but
you're doing a great job. Like, you're doing a great job. I know where we're going with this. You're doing a great job painting the picture. You painted in. It was like I built the frame. You took your markers and you colored all inside the lines. Well done. So here's a piece I'm gonna wrap this, so like not around to end the show, but just wrap this concept so we can keep going on to a couple others. So if you look at the two words, divine, divorce, right? Divine, just consider that part of our relationships is part of the order of being in relationship as human beings is that you're going to be in connection and you're going to be in disconnection. And we look at this as like a bad thing. And yet consider that the reason that the disconnection occurs is so that a higher level of connection can appear. And most couples stay stuck in this loop of just chaos, looping, which was us for years and years and years, thinking that the collisions were a problem, not recognizing that what was a problem was the disconnection that was happening and the reconnection that wasn't happening. So if we take that game and we look at this divine game of collision and separation, connection, disconnection, there's another piece of this, which is divorce. And right, what is a divorce? What does this word divorce means? It means, I think it's like to put aside, to leave behind, to separate from. And so if you look at how most marriages operate, take a couple that doesn't go on dates. Take a couple that does not, take a couple that's not having sex. You know, you've been married, but you're not having sex one time every 3-4 weeks. And you go on a date night like once every 6 months. And this is like not, like people think this is like some extreme thing. And maybe you're listening, it's like you're getting this. But most couples that we meet, and most couples I am in connection with what I do with Wake Up Warrior and what we do inside the hair industry, the vast majority of the couples are operating in very minimal sexual connection and very minimal emotional and spiritual connection. And they are surviving, but the challenge, they don't even know they're surviving. They're just like, well, I guess this is how it is. And if you surround yourself with people who believe that's how it is, then it's not until something traumatic happens where it begins to expose how shitty things actually are. And that's what Danielle got to was when the money disappeared, and if you got money, it's easy to make it feel fine. Go on some trips, buy some shit, etc., and it feels like everything's okay. Right? Or maybe you're in a relationship where you're a woman and you hold out with sex until the last possible moment, and then you have sex, and then you restore order to the game. But inside of this, the divorcement of the way your relationship now is must happen in order for you to arrive at the new divine destiny of your next level of your relationship.
Well, you know what I think of too is like you'll have maybe a couple or who like the only person that comes to mind right now is my sister. She doesn't listen to this show, and even if she did, I don't think she'd care that I'd share this. But I found like how she operated. She got divorced and remarried, and I found like how she operated with her ex-husband is like she doesn't operate that way with her new husband. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you say you're a certain way and like you can't change, but it could be, you know, just old, like just patterns you've created with that particular person that like makes you react and do the things you do in the relationship. And so it's funny because like she seemed like a totally different person being married to this new guy, you know,
100%.
like more doting and like flirty and girly. And I was like, man, you just look like a frigid bitch, like, you know, but she wasn't happy. So I think that this new person can arise. And, you know, oftentimes in relationships, when I've seen couples that do get divorced, this person sadly doesn't arise until they're in a whole new relationship. And I think the challenge is, can you recreate that in your current relationship?
Divine divorce! Woo! Divine divorce!
Divine
Woo!
disconnection,
Divorce!
because it gives you a fresh start if you both choose it. So just meaning like Garrett and I feel like it is possible, like we could have gotten divorced, not to say we wouldn't have been happy and found a great other person to be married with. Like, I'm not saying that, but we were able to literally kind of be like, okay, we want to figure this out together and get back on the same page. So sometimes you have to look at like, you know, trials in your relationship is like, hey, if we're both willing to do the work, we can create and start a new thing together. And it's going to take more time, again, because of the history you have. But it's also that history that really holds you together. And oftentimes, you know, children and other things that come into play. I think that you see the bad in the relationship and you don't look at like so much of the great history. And you think, oh, it's so hard to rebuild this relationship. But like, look at what you have with that person. Of course, it's going to be work to put it back together. But I think that with having that history, it would be worth it.
So this divorcement game, I'm going to continue down this path. So you take it. One of the fascinating things for me is to look at the number of couples we know got divorced. Which again, I'm a divorce guy, so I'm not talking down on divorce. What I am talking down on is this reality of how people show up. So I can tell you the number of couples I know who together were both out of shape, didn't take care of themselves physically, didn't go out on dates, didn't seduce or flirt with each other, and had been in survival mode for like a decade. Overweight, pasty white, no taking care of themselves, no dating, no engaging, just managing and surviving with kids and work and life. And then they're like, I can't fucking do this anymore. And they get divorced, right? And then this funny thing happens over the next 6 to 9 months. It like blows my mind every time. All of a sudden, they both get fit. Right? They start losing weight. They start going tanning. The girl stops wearing just a ponytail every day and Lulu pants. And all of a sudden she's like dressing up and wearing nice clothes, taking care of herself. The guy's like taking care of himself. And they're both, you're studying personal development and they're starting to improve themselves so that they don't ever face this again. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, what would happen if you'd both fucking shown up like that when you were married? Like, what if you could have just, instead of having to get divorced, what if you could literally go through a divine divorcement, which was this ability to say, fuck it. I'm like, our marriage doesn't work. I had a client of mine call me up on a Sunday morning. He's crying. He's emotional. His wife texted him divorce pictures. Pictures of their divorce papers that she had left. Yeah, of his...
I was like, did she take a picture, rip in half?
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird, right? So she texted a picture of divorce papers that she put on his desk. And he's calling me and he's like crying, he's upset, and I'm sitting there, I'm not emotional with them all. It's part of my job is to not be emotional with them. It's just to listen to him and then also help him think through shit. So he's sharing with me and he's super emotional, he's super upset, and then he goes, well, what do you think? And I was like, I asked him a direct question. I was like, are you surprised? Like, I've been working with you for 6 months. Are you surprised this happened? Come on. He's like, well, what do you mean? I was like, come on, dude. You're not fucking stupid. You think this is you're surprised by this? You're surprised she filed for divorce? I said, let me ask you this. When was the last time you guys had sex? He's like, 6 weeks ago. I said, exactly. How's that work out for you? It doesn't. Okay. When was the last time you two didn't fight? Like, you fight all the damn time. He's like, well, you know, we fight all the time. I was like, exactly. She's fucking stronger than you are. She's at least saying this relationship is bullshit. I can't do this anymore. Now, the cool part is, fast forward this game 6-7 months, they didn't get divorced, but it took her taking a declaration of, wait for it, divine divorce for them to shift. Now, what ended up happening is the way those two were showing up for each other in marriage was dysfunctional, and it was demanding divorcement. And you're listening to the show right now, you may be in a relationship like that, where your marriage, it demands a divorcement so that you can open up to a new divine destiny. Like, you can create a new possibility inside your relationship because the current relationship has restrictions to it. Danielle and I are not the same people. I mean, come on now, let's be serious here.
I feel like we both softened a little bit. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, like, people will be like, well, how did you do it? And the only thing I can tell them is, like, time, patience, commitment. Like, I mean, I know those are all, like, cliche answers, but there's so much truth in that. There's so much. I did a post today. I was like, people underestimate the small consistencies daily that create a big win in life. And that goes in a relationship as well. And so many people are quick to be like, well, I've really been trying for 6 months. And you're like, motherfucker, like, how long you been married? Like, come on now, 6 months, good for you. You really gave it your all. So you kind of have to look at it in that perspective of, like, how long did it take you to fuck up your relationship? How long have you been married? How much time are you willing to put forth? I mean, if your relationship is not in a good place, that's not overnight. That's by little things that you were doing every day. So you have to reverse it. And over time, all of a sudden, you're like, wow, I kind of like you a little more and more. And that's what a relationship is built off, is just that energy of both committing to making good choices together and knowing. I think when you fuck it up too, like, you're in this space where you see signs of, like, we're not going back there. Like, there were so many times where Garrett and I wanted to slip back and do, like, old stupid things, and we still do. And then I have to look at myself and be like, come on, you're better than that. Like, come on, this is stupid. And when I, like, call myself out in my own head, I'm like, okay. And I'm able to look at the situation, whatever it is, more clearly. And I think that Garrett can do the same. I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but little things that used to set us off in the past, or arguments that would reoccur, I've noticed we both just, like, are kind of like, no, this isn't going anywhere. Let's not snap back into that old relationship that we used to have.
This, my friends, is what we call divine divorce.
Oh my God.
You knew I was going to wrap that in. I knew eventually I'd get you seduced onto my side.
I guess you go back.
Yeah, it's the backside of the song. So, this game inside your world comes down to the following. A decision, right? No, notice the word. I was talking to another gentleman on the phone, another client of mine, and I said, and he's having problems in his relationship, and he's like, I just can't keep doing this. I just can't keep doing this. And I said, I can't keep doing what? He's like, well, I just can't keep doing this. I can't keep doing this. And I was like, listen. I was like, by can't keep doing this, you keep referencing dealing with her. I was like, here's the thing that I know, though. What I know right now listening to you is you're not fucking committed. That's what I know. I was like, you flip-flop. You're like a flipper-flopper. You're committed today, you're not committed tomorrow. Like, the thing that changed inside my relationship, the divorcement in my mind
I think
with
that I had a
Danielle.
hard time trusting you because I felt like you were a flip-flopper. I'm like, oh, okay, so you're cool this week, but you're not cool next week. When divorce is on the table, it's hard to have trust with somebody. And a relationship is built off of trust. So if you have a partner where you feel like divorce, they're dangling the divorce papers on you, like, that doesn't work either. And I felt like that, if I'm being really honest here, I felt like that's what Garrett was doing for, like, years to me. And I was so tired. I was just, like, at the point where I was like, okay, if this is not going to work out, like, I can't even trust you. Like, if you're just going to, like, dangle these divorce papers, like, because you feel like we're married to the wrong people, like, that's not going to help the situation. And then something, and I don't know, maybe you can share, but something shifted in you where you, like, were like, okay, like, you changed. You're like, I'm committed. Like, and to me, like, I knew, like, okay, we can get in an argument, we can get in a sticky space, but I know that you're not, like, dangling the divorce papers anymore. Like, you, like, I don't know from your perspective what changed, if it was just such little things over time, or
There was a decision. Like, it was crazy. Like, it was literally a decision. And we had been going through so much stuff back and forth, and I've been doing so much work trying to figure this out. And you and I had both kind of gone to this place of, we all both acknowledged we could get divorced and be married to somebody else, and we could both be happy down the path. But the one thing that wouldn't have changed was either of us. Like, we were still going to be the same people, which means it was highly likely for me, that would have been divorce number 2, Danielle divorce number 1, that we were going to head down the same path and find the same fucking problems, because we wouldn't have changed. And so inside of me, what allowed it, I kept wanting things to be different, but what was not different was my commitment to Danielle and my commitment to our marriage. Meaning I just emotionally was not committed in the sense of saying, okay, divorce is like not a negotiable conversation right now. Like I'm in, long haul, figure this shit out, let's go. And when that happened, I noticed in Danielle, there was things started to shift. And what shifted us was not some magic. What shifted us was a commitment. And that commitment opened up trust. And so maybe as we wrap up today's show, the simple thing you need to take a look at is this, is that your challenge is not that you have chaos and conflict in your marriage. The challenge is that you're literally knocking on door of divorcement, which means you've got a divine divorce on your hands. It doesn't mean you're going to file papers and going to leave each other and go sleep with other people. It's like, listen, no, you've got to be willing to divorce the way things have been and open yourself up to the divine possibility of the way they could be now.
Where are you going? Pull in the garage, you can fit.
I'm just going to pull it right here because I'm leaving.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're amazing. I'm dropping her off to get her hair done. So final thoughts from you.
Final thoughts from me. I think I already said it. Like, don't underestimate the small consistencies in life that will create big wins. Stay committed and be patient. And kick your husband in the ass every now and again if he needs it.
Well done. And sometimes some blowjobs. That'd be nice. Anyways, that's all we got for you this week. My friends
I'm making a baby this month.
Might get a baby this month. Yes, this month you're making a baby. We'll give you a hall pass. I will see you tonight for date night. Hope you're wondering, get down out of that giant G-Wagon with your baby belly, miniskirt baby belly. All right, love you. All right, we're going to finish the show up now. And I'm going to give you a few more thoughts here on this as my beautiful wife walks into the salon to go get her hair done. She is going to her own salon, and her artists are going to take care of her natural beauty row extensions. I love her. She's walking right now. It's so hot. It's crazy. So the first two babies that we had together, Bailey and Ruby, our 12 and 8-year-old, things were very different, my friends. They were very different. Different as a husband, different as a partner. Like, they were extremely different than they are now as a couple. And it's super fun to be in a place that we are right now. And all of that has been driven by where each one of us got individually, where I got and where she got. And so if we want to continue this path for the next couple minutes to wrap the show up of this divine divorcement, like, this is a real thing, guys. Like, it's a real thing. Like, you've got to be willing to divorce you. Do you realize that no matter how good things are right now, no matter how great things are right now, no matter how powerfully connected you feel to who you are and what you guys have, do you realize that the next version of your relationship as a couple is impossibly held hostage by the current constraints of what you believe is possible today? Like, let that sit for a second. So, like, you might be in a really shitty marriage right now, or maybe you're in a very powerfully connected marriage. But no matter where it's at, there's another level calling you. And in order to get to that next level, there's a divine divorcement upon you. And divine in the sense that, like, God's giving you an opportunity with agency to choose. Like, to choose what you believe, to choose what you do, to choose what you want, to choose how you desire things to be. Like, all of this divine game is a part of being a human being inside this experience. And then we choose to be in relationship with another person, and things get spicy. And there's a decision. And that divorcement I'm talking about is something that happens daily. You know, just today, driving with Danielle to the doctor's office, there were several moments where conversations, we were talking, and I normally get triggered, and I got triggered, but I did something different. Instead of, like, making it a big deal, I was just like, it's okay. And I could feel the emotions rising inside, and the frustration, and a little bit of irritation in the moment, and then I made a different decision. Well, that's divine divorcement. And on the other side of your divorce is a new path and a new possibility of destiny. Like, there's a new destiny on the other side of divorce, and divorce is simply choosing to do something different, to lay down and to put aside that which is old and not working for something that is new and can work and should work and will work. Danielle and I work. We're not perfect. Doesn't mean we don't fight, doesn't mean we don't debate, doesn't mean we don't argue, but shit is like 1,000% better than it ever was before. And this is the first time in the last couple years as a couple where we start to have the visions of literally growing old together, lying in bed holding hands and fucking dying. Like when we're 90s, hundreds, I don't know. But there's no end in sight. And the minute that our marriage got to a place where it didn't matter, there's no set of titties on the planet. They're going to pull me away from my wife. Like there's nothing. There's no guy, like shredded six-pack guy that's going to pull my wife away from me. Like we are all in with each other. And this has created a respect and a trust and a bond. And here's the biggest piece. It's created a vision for a future that is so much bigger than the current one that we live in. And the one that we live in right now, our current reality is amazing. But without a bigger vision and without a bigger future for you as a couple, you will perish every single time. So what do you choose? What do you choose? Right? It's a simple decision. If you're a woman listening to this, what are you choosing to divorce? Right? What are you choosing to divorce and how you show up? If you're a man listening to the show, what are you choosing to divorce and how you show up? Because without the divorcement and without the decision to do it, nothing's going to change. My friends, that's all I got for you today. Here's a couple of reminders. If you are currently inside this game, but do not have access to the Warrior Book, you can check that out by heading over to warriorbook.com. And we've got access to the curriculum of the Warrior's Way, which could be very powerful for you. Also, we have a powerful podcast at Warrior on Fire. You can look that up on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and you can find a daily 20-minute discussion that I have every single day around the principles of power and production, linked up to the principles inside of the Warrior Book. So it may be a free tool for you, another supplemental tool to be able to use here with the DHY podcast. Either way, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and we will talk to you next week.